Okay, everybody, cue spoon and music in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everybody, to the SpewnedIt Podcast. I'm Jensen, this is my good friend Joel, and we are happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Obviously, like getting into season 2 now of the SpewnedIt Podcast. We, as we spoke about last week, we've stepped up, we've leveled up. We had a bit of a break, but like Jen said, I love the way he said this last week. We weren't sitting on our hands or anything. No, we've been working, and we're back. And it's so good to be back, gents. I'm so glad that we are doing this, man. And I'm so excited to get into this weekend's episode.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, yeah, you actually brought this up, and I think it's a great conversation to have, and it'll evolve as we go along. But the base question is, what was your first phone? And for me, I didn't get a phone for a while. My parents were a bit hesitant to give us phones, which reasonably so. But the first phone that I really remember doing things on was my parents' cell phones, and it was a flip phone. It was like probably this thick, but it was it was like the coolest thing at the time. And I think the only thing cooler, I don't know if you had this revelation in England as well. I kind of assume you did, but did you guys have the Motorola Razr phone? You probably weren't even in England at that time. Okay,
I probably wasn't. I know the name though.
The name.
Whenever I hear Motorola Razr, like all my hair it stands on end.
Because I remember that coming out, and it was like the coolest phone. It was the Cadillac of phones at the time. It was like sleek, stylish. You could get it in different colors, all this stuff. Anyway, back to my parents' phone. It had like ridiculous games on it. Just there was one, I believe it was called like Pimp My Ride or something. And it was like a weird platformer kind of where you avoided, or maybe you caught things that were falling down. It was just a very basic game, but we loved it. And the funny thing about that phone was they had this whole like marketplace of like tons of those games, and then each phone would come with like one like free like credit for a game, and then you could spend $4 of your parents' money and buy another one, which I don't think we ever did. I think we would use the free one and then go over to my dad's phone and buy a different game and try it out. Oh, and you could also, there was like the trial. You could run a trial version of it. And
like
play.
The demo versions. Yep. I hated those because you could only play for like 30 seconds and then it would say, buy the game to continue the demo. And you're just like, no, I was about to beat Tetris or something. No, I love those phones though. So my first actual phone that I owned was, it was a smartphone. So this was pretty cool. I did briefly own like one of the Nokia bricks, which obviously major classic. I remember sitting like one afternoon, I was just faffing about really with my phone. I was like, what can I actually do on this? So I'd gone through, changed all the settings to like personalize my phone, change like the brightness of it or something stupid. And then I went on, so I was listening to the radio on it as well. And I was like, mate, I am the coolest. I've got a phone. I'm listening to the radio. I'm the bee's knees right now. But one of my favorite things about this, and we spoke briefly about this, gents, obviously before we came on, was some of these classic games that we look back on now. Okay. And I'm gonna go straight to 100 with this. Bounce, right? Bounce is one of the best games that I have ever played, and it's still to this day, it haunts me how I could only ever get past like level 4 or 5. Because that was, how many levels were there? To be like, do we even know?
I think the furthest
does anyone know?
Was level 5. I don't think anyone's beaten that game. I think nobody has ever completed level 5. And I'm gonna do a search after this and see if I can, like, I don't know, find an emulator for an old phone and find a play in that game. And we'll post that video. If somehow I discover that, it would be so fun to go back and play it, because there was only, it was like numpad controls, right? You could do like 2 was up, and then 4 was left, 6 was right, and then I guess, was there a down, or was this gravity? I don't think there was a down.
No, there was not a down. Because of course either that or you use the little thing in the middle, like the tiny little up down, like the little square. Oh man!
Anyway,
Well, of course, because
then
then you had the two versions as well, because you had the
Yeah.
color and the black
I know.
and white.
And that's what I was going to say. It
Classic.
blows my mind because it was, I don't know. So the phones in Uganda all kind of had the same set games. There was Bounce, and then Snake, of course, and there was another soccer game, which was just kind of pixelated. But I want to just describe Bounce for those of our listeners who haven't had the joy of experiencing this game. It was a very simple platformer. You play as a ball, and the goal is to collect something, and then it will open like a portal to the next level. Is that right? You had to unlock
I think
the doorway, and you kind of backtrack. I remember.
Exactly, yeah. And usually it was like part of the level. Like
Right.
you'd easily pass it. You're like, right, I have to jump up, hit
right.
this, bang, fine, and you'd be able to get through. Sorry, go on.
And then there was a few different like physics-based things. Like there was one that would make your ball very big, and then you can float in water. And there was one that would make your ball very small, and then you would sink. And it would affect like how high you bounce. But I think one of the big things about it was like you could build up momentum, which was kind of high tech. I felt like for this very very simple type game, but you could like get a bounce going and go up and down on in a corridor, and then come out of the corridor and like shoot up really high on the next stage and get to where you need to go. It was very interesting. But yeah, nobody ever got past level 5, so we have no idea.
That's the main thing, and I think so. What we need to do now, if there is anyone out there, if you've beaten Bounce, firstly, I want to meet you to understand your genius, and secondly, we need to hear from you about what comes after level 5. Is it just Oblivion? I'd really, really want to know. Obviously, like you mentioned before, gents, Snake, absolute flipping classic, right? There have been like remakes and stuff, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a massive fan of those. I remember one of my mum's first phones, but one of the phones that she had when I was younger, and it was like a color version.
Yeah.
There were different kinds of fruit, and I was
different
like, man,
fruits,
I don't need
different stages.
I was like, I don't need it. Give me the classic. Give me the classic. What a game. I was not a massive fan. Similar with Bounce as well. I was like, you know what? I mean, obviously the color version was cool because it didn't change much. I feel like with Snake they tried to be too clever. I like the standard version of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I feel like I like the color version of Bounce because I don't know. It just felt better, and it looked nice. Actually, it looked good.
What a brilliant game! What an amazing game!
Do some research and see if we can find out who made that, because that would just be
absolutely. Surely they've also because I'd imagine they'd have like a link with Nokia or someone, because that was on like give or take every single phone at that point. Because another thing, obviously, about these phones is they were solid. If you ever needed like a means of defense for someone, you could use that phone, and if you like lobbed it at someone, that would hurt because these things are bricks. They are so solid. Oh man, good times. Really, really good times. But yeah, so I mean, because after that, one of my first ever like actual devices, this is going to sound really sad, but it was just a little MP3. So, it's just a little, I think it was called like a Zen or something. Okay. You could have like 50 songs or something. So, and then I don't know how I did this, but I think that I overloaded it. So I tried to put more songs than it could handle. And then the last time I tried to turn it on, it just broke. Like it just didn't work. Which is kind of sad. It is sad for the machine, but I had no idea how I actually like did it. Because Jez, I remember you mentioned before something about like an iPod or an iPod Touch. How old were you when you got that?
I think I was 15 by the time I got that. But what I had before that was an MP3 player, which was 8 gigabytes. So I remember decent amount. It was like, I mean, when I got it, I thought it was the coolest thing. I was like, this is super nice, It was, but it really didn't compare to even just the iPods of the day. Which, to be fair, it was a much less expensive version, but it could play video, which I thought was cool. I think. What was the brand on that one? It was, oh man, no, I think Sansa. I had later. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it. Because I mean, it was legit, man. Like it was a really decent little machine. I remember seeing that, and I was well jealous. I won't lie. I was like, you know what? That is dope. That is a really sick little machine. Yeah, that got stolen though, and then I got my mom's. I remember you telling me that. Sansa MP3 player, which was nicer, but for some reason, dude, I tried for forever, and I could not get it to play video. Like, you needed some crazy format thing. I even like paid actual money to get like a media converter to like try to get it on here, and it couldn't do it, which is crazy because it had like a, you know, scrolling through, it had a little tab for videos, but you just couldn't. Yeah, there was nothing. It was so bizarre. I didn't understand. I never had. Well, cause I had an MP3. I can't remember if I got a second one of the same thing, of just like the same little device. I think I may have. But one of the other really cool things that came with that, so obviously it was a little MP3 like this, but then one of the things it came with like a little plug-in speaker. So obviously an MP3, obviously you've got this tiny little device, and you've got your audio jack, and you could like, so I mean I've got a speaker here, and so you could basically just chuck it in there, and then it would have two little speakers on either side, and it was just one of the coolest things I'd ever seen. So that was a lot of fun. I feel like
got
I
my first
that,
actual.
Actually,
Do you remember that? It was so cool. Like
it was handy.
Zen.
It was handy. Zune.
It was really handy. It was nice. You just set it up, and you just like boom. It was nice. It was cool.
Those are great.
First actual phone. I mean, this came to a sad demise, but I think I must have been like probably a similar age to when you got yours, Jez, to be fair. Probably about 14, 15. And I mean, you know, it lasted me, it must have been like 2 odd years, 1.5 years, 2 years. But it got so bad at the end that the battery had expanded, right? So the battery was like twice the width. And so at some points I had to have an elastic band around my phone. Oh, man. Just embarrassing. And then, I mean, like we were saying before, shout out to Motorola. I actually got a Motorola after that. And it was one of the sickest phones ever. I was a big, big fan.
Yeah, I had the iPod Touch, and then my first, which was great. I used that forever, and nowadays I can't even. The screen is so small, and going back to it, it's crazy because that was like when the iPhone 5 came out and they expanded and became bigger, and then, but like previous to that, the regular iPhone like 4 and below was just tiny.
They are tiny. Well, because then as well making the jump from like the 5 to the 6. Yeah. Like the 6 was colossal in comparison.
Yeah, it's so crazy how everything is so relative, because now my phone is, you know, massive compared to anything that I had back in comparison. But you know, it's just funny. Yeah, so my first smartphone was a LG G3, which was a nice phone actually. Whoa. It had a good camera.
LG is dead decent, man.
They're good, yeah, but the sad thing about this one was, I think it was like a manufacturing problem, because I found out after I got it, after it bricked on me, that they had a tendency to brick, and you just couldn't recover them. And so then I got Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge, which was great, and I've stuck with Samsung. That was
you had the 6. You had this. You had the 6 Edge as your second phone.
Yeah.
Holy moly! Yeah, I mean, the 6 Edge was fire. Obviously, it was
cool.
You know,
Edge was
very
so
prone to break,
so
but the little.
It was so cool.
Very, very nice.
It was.
I had like the Galaxy Ace as my first phone.
Okay. It was just like a generic,
tiny little brilliant thing.
It was white. Yeah.
It had a white back, but I had options, to be fair. Like I think I got like 2 or 3, so I was like, "Yo, gents, check out my new phone." And I was like, "No, it's just a new back." Yeah, man, it was cool. I liked being able to do that though. Like, you know how you just can't do that on a new phone. Oh yeah, you just can't take the back off. You know,
I mean, it's your case nowadays, isn't it? Like the customization is getting whatever color you want, stuff like that. Yeah,
and well, obviously, unless you buy the phone of a different color. But yeah, no, exactly. Sure, and so you've just got no choice. Actually, on that note, I've been trying to find like Rick and Morty cases or like cool cases that I can use for my phone, but I haven't been able to find any
Edge,
really decent ones.
I got one of those like Instagram ads or something for, you know, themed cases, and I got 2 of them. I think I just got 2 Star Wars ones actually. It was like one was like a Stormtrooper and one was maybe Darth Vader on the back. But because the confusing
thing for the Edge was like how the case works, because obviously half the phone, like, it can only really attach to the edges of the phone, because on the sides, because of the edge, it was made it tough.
Yeah, and the case
did the screen ever crack for yours?
It did, and it was such a bummer because I had a case. I had a nice one actually. It was like Caseology, which I think I've stuck with, or maybe Yeah, and they're like really nice cases. And it was kind of clever, actually, because like you said, you can only really get the edges and the top and the bottom because the way the edge worked was they kind of went off to the side, which a lot of phones do nowadays. But it was pretty like revolutionary just using that extra little edge, and it looked really cool. Anyway, so the case had to leave that part open, which is normally, you know, where it grips around the phone to protect that, you know, all around it. But what this one did was it kind of gripped again, like at the top and the bottom and around the corners, and then it kind of stuck out like a little bit, so that if it were to land on a flat surface, it would hit only the kind of the, I don't know how to say it,
like the little lip,
the lip,
yeah,
exactly.
The lip of the case,
the lip, and so that the screen wouldn't. And when it finally cracked for me, which it wasn't too bad of a crack, but it was just such a bummer because it was such a pretty phone before that. But when it finally cracked was, I think I dropped it in. I was at a summer camp being a counselor, and I dropped it like it slipped off of like the little stool in the shower. It probably fell like 2 feet and landed in like a tiled groove. And so that's why.
Oh no!
that's why it hit the ground.
Sucks.
I was like, "What are the odds? This is so." But that was a great phone. I still have that somewhere, but I had to get a new one because the battery just absolutely pooped out on me at the end. It couldn't last me the day. It was
seriously. Nah, sucks. But, no, I've always, since very early on, I've always made sure that I've got like glass screen protectors and a decent case, just because I've had it too many times when I've just dropped it. Even though I did get a glass screen protector for like the phone that I've got now,
right?
Or glass, yeah. But then they all just seemed to suck. They were all just really weird, and didn't like stick on the edges properly. So I haven't got one at the moment. But you never know. You never know. We'll kind of see what happens. But like you said before, it's mental how far phones have come. You know, before when you used to be able to like hold your hand around the actual phone, and now it's like you've got to balance it on there. So you know they're turning just more and more into tablets, which is crazy. But
well, it's good for me because I like, you know, I have bigger hands than many people, so like bigger phones, perfect. It's like this is, you know.
What have you got now?
I have a S9 Plus.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is nice. I like it. My brother has, well, one of them has an S9. One of them has the 10, I think. And it has it's one of the ones with the cameras kind of like built into the screen. And also it has... It has the fingerprint sensor that's built into the screen as well, which I don't like. Because mine's on the back.
Oh, you don't like?
No, I don't. Because he has to buy like a super expensive cover if he wants to use it. Like he has to buy like a special glass screen protector that will sense your fingerprint through it somehow. But it's like way more expensive than just a normal protector. So he doesn't have that. And then additionally, I like on the back because, like, you know, when I'm holding my phone, then I can just, I don't know, it's a very natural to have the fingerprint sensor on the back. So I like that design.
No, I know what you mean. Mine used to have the same thing on the back, and so you just go boop, and you know your finger's right there. My mum has that phone now because her phone before was appalling. So I was like, Mum, please take this phone because yours is so bad.
Yeah.
And then I've got one in the screen as well at the moment, but and I mean, because mine was well confusing because mine has the camera that comes like out the top.
Right. Yeah.
Let me show you. So that little whoop. So did you see that? So that's the little dope. Camera. Yeah. So it's mad. But of course that means that the case at the top just doesn't exist. So it's really, really dangerous.
A little dicey,
but it just looks cool. But it just how far we've come from bounce. But I reckon we should have like a bounce competition. I reckon we should have a bounce off. I reckon we should have both of our screens.
I'm gonna do some searching. Yeah.
So you can get to level 5 first, because obviously that's basically the end, because we can't get any further.
Can't get any further. Absolutely.
How the Seattle Sounders won the Champions League.
In 2014, 2 young hotshot managers take over the Seattle Sounders Football Club, seeking glory and valor.
With a strange new double-barrel style formation, the players were eager to push the limits that the likes of which Seattle had never seen before.
Stars such as Clint Dempsey, Obafemi Martins, DeAndre Yedlin, and Eddie Johnson would take the pitch, rearing to kick some football and make their managers proud.
Starting off the season with 7 straight victories of 5 or more goals, it was clear that this dynamic duo of managerial perfection would change the course of football forever.
The 3 leading scorers that year were the Sounders' own Dempsey, Martins, and Johnson, each having over 35 goals in one of the most dominant offensive seasons ever.
Winning the MLS with 3 matches to spare, the team quickly became known as a force to be reckoned with.
News spread overseas as Arsenal FC from London got in touch, requesting a friendly game.
And let's just say it was not quite as friendly as Arsenal had previously thought.
When all was said and done, the Gunners were sent back to their locker room, licking their wounds and wondering how an English team could have embarrassed their country so badly.
Going from strength to strength, the officials of the Champions League had no choice but to take notice and offer an official invite to the Sounders.
Joel and Jensen had foreseen this success and in preparation turned down all bids for their players to go on international leave.
Continuing to surprise, Joel, Jensen and their boys seemed unstoppable, even for the likes of the brilliant Messi, Suarez and Neymar on a stacked Barcelona squad that had been one of the favourites to win the competition.
In the Champions League final, the Sounders had seemingly met their match against Real Madrid. Ronaldo, Benzema and Bale were playing out of their senses, and in the 80th minute, the score was 1-1.
Jensen and Joel could be seen at the sideline having multiple discussions, planning tactics, before waving over their secret weapon.
Obafemi Martins had sat out the start of the game after an ankle injury he sustained in the previous week. But in their moment of need, everyone in that stadium knew he would step up to the challenge.
With the clock ticking, Martins had clearly made an instant impact on the team, willing them on to push forward and keep Real Madrid on the back foot.
With a brilliant cross from Dempsey, Martins brings the ball down and onto his stronger right foot before blasting it at the very top left corner of the net. Casillas' outstretched hand just catching on the ball, but not enough to save the goal.
The boys had done it. They'd reached the pinnacle of football success and made believers out of the doubters. The two managers looked at each other and with a smile pressed save on their FIFA 2014 file as they turned off Joel's PS Vita.
That was sick, dude.
Hey guys, we just want to say a massive thank you for staying tuned and for being here with us. Obviously, we're having a great time with this. We've really put quite a bit back into the podcast, and we're having a great time. So please do remember there are a few things that we need to hear from you guys. Don't forget with Bounce, if you've gotten any further than level 4 or 5, we want to hear from you. Okay, so chuck a comment in the comment section below, leave a like and subscribe, and just support the boys. We're here for a good time, and we're going to continue to put as much as we can into this podcast. Until then, though, lots of love, Godspeed, and we'll see you next week.